Welcome back to Northwest City Politics in the Know with Juanita. We're glad that you're joining our show again this week. We're always glad for people like you, people that are interested in the issues that are happening in the cities in Northwest Community Television's viewing area. It is important for good government that there be a good back and forth of ideas between the residents and the city council and the mayors to make sure everybody's moving in the same direction, helping move your city forward. So we're glad for people like you. Right now, we're in the middle of election season. So during this time, we're bringing to you candidates from the 9 cities that have elections going on. And we're very happy tonight to welcome as guests. We've got Jeffrey Drayton from Maple Grove. We've got Barb Richardson from Robbinsdale Ward 1. And we've got Nancy LaRoche from Crystal Section 1.
Correct.
Now I made it all the way around.
You did. Well done.
So we're very happy that all of you are joining us.
Thank
and
you.
We're going to take time. They've got some questions that they prepared ahead of time, that I gave them ahead of time, that they put some ideas and to pick which ones are of concern to them. We're going to start out with Jeffrey Drayton, and I'll let you introduce yourself out to our wider audience out there, especially to the people in Maple Grove.
Super. Well, thank you, Juanita. My name is Jeffrey Drayton. I'm running for the Maple Grove City Council. A little bit about me. I've lived in Maple Grove for 16 years. I moved to Maple Grove with my family in July of 2000. I'm originally from Fargo, North Dakota. I was born and raised there. Shortly after graduating high school, I joined the United States Army, where I served on active duty for 7 years. First in Stuttgart, Germany, and later in with the 1st Cavalry Division at Fort Hood, Texas. With the 1st Cavalry Division, I was deployed to Saudi Arabia as part of Operation Desert Shield and Desert Storm, what we might now refer to as the First Gulf War.
Right.
So for that reason, I'm also a combat veteran. I completed my active military service in 1992, and at that time I moved to Minneapolis, where I enrolled at the University of Minnesota Twin Cities. I studied, I earned a bachelor's degree in music education, and I taught in Woodbury, Minnesota in District 833, junior high school, and later in Robbinsdale, District 281. There was an interim between those 2 positions. At that time, I was a stay-at-home parent to my 3 kids when they were young children. In 2012, I made a career change. I enrolled at Minnesota State University in Mankato, and I studied financial planning. I passed the Certified Financial Planner exam in July of 2014, and since that time, I've had my own financial planning practice in Maple Grove. So.
A lot of good background experience, right?
Thank you.
And then I gave a bunch of different ideas, and we're not particularly saying anyone is more important than another, but some things that you'd like to share with the audience out there, particularly in Maple Grove. What issue would you like to talk about first?
Sure. Well, there have been 2 issues that I've kind of considered to be the platforms of my campaign. They are fiscal responsibility and continued economic growth for Maple Grove. What does this mean to me? It means continuing to grow our tax base such that we can continue to reinvest in Maple Grove's infrastructure and its amenities without overburdening the citizens of Maple Grove. In addition, I want Maple Grove to have the ability to invest in itself without having to raise tax rates faster than the rates of inflation, which, as you know, have been fairly low for some number of years now. I also want to see us not overextend ourselves such that we might jeopardize our AAA bond rating.
Oh, right. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. To do the bond rating of a city is basically its quote-unquote credit score. So to do so would be to burden the citizens of Maple Grove with higher financing costs to do city projects.
Right.
So, yeah.
And you have the background to be more tuned into that, right?
I like to think so. It's something that I do on a daily basis is sit down with people, look at their taxes, and those numbers are real numbers to people. And when we get into the types of numbers that government sees, thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars here and there. I think of the number of taxpayers who contributed to make those numbers possible. So,
oh, definitely.
I see the pain in that.
And then is there another issue that you'd like to share with our audience?
Yeah, well, if I was to place some secondary issues onto that, I think it would be public safety. I'd like to see that, especially our first responders are well funded and supported. That's an issue that is of great importance throughout the country right now.
Oh, right.
I feel like in Maple Grove we've been very fortunate in that I think we've had, we have excellent first responders, and also I would say that just maintaining the green areas in Maple Grove. What a beautiful city with our parks and the new Central Park that is over by the library.
Right.
Yes, exactly. And just making sure that we're maintaining the spaces that we have.
And you've got a lot of lakes in Maple Grove, don't you?
Yeah, I live right on the north side of Rice Lake myself, and Fish Lake, and Weaver Lake, and Eagle Lake. And, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So it's a matter of for security of keeping what you have now, or do you want to add to it?
I would say, yeah, maintaining first. One thing I would say is, as I speak to economic growth, I think that is a two-pronged concern, in that I want to see the continue. In the 16 years that I've lived in Maple Grove, I've seen a lot of development. I think we probably have about that amount of time, give or take, before the city is fully developed. But as we look to new growth, I also don't want to ignore the businesses that we have, and there's always a certain amount of attrition, especially in today's world of an ever-changing retail market, and the ability to be able to find that next business to fill a space that maybe goes vacant. I don't want to lose focus on maintaining what we have, with our beautiful retail space and the Arbor Lakes, the shops, and the fountains, and so.
Yeah, because your area is kind of unique in being one of the first shopping areas set up where you drive to the one instead of going into a mall, right?
Yeah, exactly. Which is very unique, and I think of Minnesota as the originator of enclosed shopping areas, and we've gone a different direction in Maple Grove, which I think it is unique, and then gives us somewhat of an advantage in that. Gives us something that makes us stand out a little bit. Exactly. Yeah.
And then another issue?
I think I basically would focus on those two. Fiscal responsibility is, of course, I think kind of front and center for me, especially with the background that I have as a financial planner, and just working with people's their cash flow, their budgets, and exactly seeing the taxes that they pay, and I think people want. I think people understand that we have to pay taxes. They want good governance. They just want to know that that money isn't being squandered or treated frivolously.
Yeah, that the city's spending the money wisely.
Exactly. Yeah.
How do you best reach out to people to let them know that?
Well, one thing I would say is we live in an age now where our avenues of communication are better than other. I think about when I first joined the Army and I was stationed in Germany. We didn't even have email at that time. That was in the late 80s, and you sent a letter, and it was 2 weeks there and 2 weeks to come back. And now we have so many, with our social media and with just web pages and the opportunity to communicate. That said, I think there is no substitute to getting out into the community, and I think of, even though it is so much easier, how many times do I actually email my parents and stay in community? It's still work. It's still work to do, and I think we have to expect that our elected officials will make that effort to stay in communication. So.
Now, give the people in Maple Grove a little pitch about why, when they go into the voting booth on November 8th, why should they check your name off?
Yeah, well, in my introduction, I said a lot about what I have done professionally. I think I'd also like to speak about a few of the things that I've done that also reflect who I am. For instance, I've been a church choir director, a Sunday school teacher. I have been a parent volunteer over at Rush Creek Elementary School. I've been a coach of my son's youth soccer team. I think I'm fluent in Spanish. I think there's some things in my background that make me somewhat unique that I think will serve me well in my candidacy for Maple Grove City Council, and hopefully will serve me well as the candidate that the citizens of Maple Grove choose to be their representative on Maple Grove City Council.
Very good. Thank you very much for
Yeah, well,
sharing
thank you, Anya.
all your thoughts with us and with our wider audience, but most particularly the people of Maple Grove. Now we'll move on and ask the people in Robbinsdale to pay particular attention, because Barbara Richardson is going to tell us first a little bit about herself and what has prepared you to be on your city council.
Okay, hello. My name is Barbara Richardson, and I have been a resident of Robbinsdale for 39 years. So that isn't terribly exciting. I haven't moved around a lot. But, you know, as a lot of baby boomers, we sometimes find our home back in our family home.
Right.
That's common to some degree in Robbinsdale. There's a lot of folks that come back. It's just that kind of a town. And I'm married and have 3 grown daughters who grew up in the same house across from Triangle Park. We just saw a brand new, recent, intelligent playground installed right across the street. It's computerized. Yeah, it's incredible. So that's been exciting. They're sad that they didn't grow up with that, but they just had the swing sets and the teeter-totters.
Right.
But anyway, and I am seeking the election of Robbinsdale Ward 1 in the City Council. I ran in 2012 against the same incumbent and received 42% of the votes. So I thought that possibly if people still wanted to see a change, I better give them a second chance. I am the Director of Extraordinary Impressions for a senior living community in Plymouth. Very, very nice. It's just a year old, but it's amazing. My education and experience include ordination to the evangelical ministry. I received that in St. Paul in 2004. I received education and training for hospice support and advocacy for victims of domestic abuse in Minneapolis in 2011. And backtracking just a little bit, my husband and I have been married for the 39 years that we've been in Robbinsdale. And when we were first married, we opened a pet store. And then we opened Coffee on Broadway, which is in Robbinsdale. Well, so pretty much most of my adult life has been spent in business. And having been in business, I understand the challenges to small business and neighborhood businesses, and Ward 1 encompasses our esteemed business district. So I'm excited to be able to relate and share and help them in any way I can. I think I have a special connection that way. And when it comes to attracting businesses to Robbinsdale, I would like to see the process be a little bit smoother and kind of get some of the kinks out. At times, we've heard from folks when we had the coffee house, they wanted to open a business in Robbinsdale, but they would always say, but it's so difficult. And, you know, they could be the best candidate for a neighborhood spot on our little main street, but they would get disappointed because it got so complicated. So I would like to be able to smooth that out a little bit. And then we have the Terrace Theater issue. And you probably all know all about that. You can't help it. It was on the front page of the Post today even. Well, sadly to say, for some people, the terrace is gone. And we understand the emotional connection that people who did grow up in Robbinsdale and attend the terrace as a child or teen, that emotion is a strong one. And so we can understand the Save the Terrace Foundation, or the group with the Facebook page, and all of the efforts that they've gone through to try to persuade the developers of the Rainbow area and the Brixmore Company to save the terrace.
Right.
But you can see from their standpoint that indeed if they're going to develop a whole area, including something that was, 65 years old,
Right.
isn't really today's way of doing things. And through the social media, I think people were able to kind of speak their mind and
Right.
iron out a few things. And I know that there will be a need for some healing and mending and all of that. But I believe that when everything's said and done, that they will all come together again as one big family. And then there's the issue of using tax increment financing.
Oh, right. That was one of the
Yes,
ones I
yes,
had
it was.
people
Yes.
react to, maybe.
Yes, and Robbinsdale has a long history of using tax increment financing. They've used it as long as Minnesota has allowed it to be a tool.
Right.
So many of the businesses in Robbinsdale were able to take advantage of that. Terrace Mall originally, when Rainbow set up, and all the stores, they were using it. Robbins Landing, which is a high rise.
Right.
It was once 55 plus, but now has changed over a bit. Copperfield Hill,
Right.
yep, and US Bank and their corner there. Travail, of course, we know about Travail and Mona Rosa.
Right.
They were just among a few of them. Personally, in the Hy-Vee case, I think it's a real risky situation. Because what if that one was one they chose to just lock the door and go? Then we have an empty spot again,
Right.
a newly developed empty spot with tax increment financing.
Yeah.
So that, I don't know, that wouldn't be my choice.
Right.
I believe communication and transparency are the key for citizens and their council. I'm proud of our city. I'm passionate about improving the aspects of safe living.
Right.
I'd like to share innovative ideas. We have the We Watch, We Call, We Care signs. A lot of people have those in their yard.
Oh, right,
So
right.
driving through, you know that we're paying attention.
Right.
I think there can be more community involvement in that. I believe that there's certain pockets of, shall we say, nuisance crime and maybe disorderly behavior
Right.
that we would like to, well, I would personally like to work with the police and law enforcement to take care of that.
Now, I hate to interrupt you, but I want to leave you enough time to tell people in Robbinsdale why they should vote for you.
Okay. Is that the time right now?
Right
Okay.
now.
Okay then. I would very much like to be your next Ward 1 City Council person. The incumbent in this seat right now has been there for 35 years. I think that that's probably long enough. I think that I could come with new ideas and a fresh voice and a newfound perspective. I think change is good. And like I said before, I ran in this race against the incumbent, challenging him in 2012, and did receive 42% of the votes. So I owe it to everyone to do it again.
Well, now we'll move on.
My turn.
We'll move to Nancy LaRoche.
Hi.
Crystal, Section 1.
Correct.
And let you introduce yourself out to all of our audience, but especially to the people in that part of Crystal.
Absolutely. Thank you, Juanita. Thank you for hosting this show. I
you're
love
welcome.
watching it. Love watching it. Great way to learn about candidates.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And hopefully more encouraged to be civically involved as well.
Definitely.
My name is Nancy LaRoche, and I'm a 19-plus year resident in the southern part of Crystal in the Valley Place neighborhood with my husband Walt, and most recently our rescued dog Spencer. Was a big hit in the neighborhood. And I work in the marketing and communications industry. My first career was in radio broadcasting, and I've been doing the marketing communication since then. And I've been an active volunteer in Crystal for a long time. Since 2011, I've been a member of the Park and Recreation Advisory Committee. This year I'm serving as chair. Very exciting things happening in our parks in Crystal. Last year I was appointed by Hennepin County District Court to serve on the Charter Commission. That's exciting. I've had 2 meetings now, just met last night. And the last 4 years I've been serving on the Crystal Frolics Commission, or the committee rather.
Right.
And we have been doing some exciting things. I developed the kids scavenger hunt. We're trying to make it more family friendly. The parade went away, so a lot of people have been asking for activities for kids. So Sunday, that's our big day now, and it's grown exponentially. We're having a lot of fun with that. My first foray into civics here in Crystal was 10 years ago. I became an election judge. Been working every election, every cycle up until this year. Now as a candidate, I can't. So very different experience. So very excited to run. It's an open seat this year. Laura Libby did not choose to run again. So very excited to run. Neighbors have been encouraging me to run for council for a long time, so this was my opportunity. Yeah,
Good. Now, let's start out with some issue that you'd like to share with the people in Crystal.
Absolutely. I think as I've been going around talking to neighbors, I think one of the main things that I'm hearing is people are overall very happy as residents. I'm not hearing any complaints other than, oh, I wish I could park my car overnight on the street. You know, it's fairly minor. They're very happy. They're happy with the schools. Very pleased with safety. The police and fire response time has been fantastic if there's an issue. Overall, it's an affordable place to live. I myself, Walt and I came from St. Louis Park. We rented. And we were looking to buy. We liked St. Louis Park, but the homes were very expensive. And so we looked north into Crystal. And a fun story there is we found our house. We were searching in the middle of January, so not lots to choose from. But we found a home we liked. We went to the city and said, what can you tell us about this home on 34th Avenue? They dug out the file for us. Again, the city staff is fantastic. Dug out the file. We looked up the home's history, found out some great things about it. It was in great shape. Then walked over to the police station, said, hey, what can you tell us about 34th Avenue? And the officer at that time said, oh, we never get calls there. I grew up down that street. It's great. So that was a big sales point for us. And we were just right off the bat so impressed with the city staff and service that we received. So that's how I got involved.
Then, do you have another issue?
Another issue, yes. As we've been growing, we've seen younger families. Barbara and I and Jeffrey and I were talking about that too. In our older, developed and fully developed communities, we're seeing a transition. Younger families are moving in. We're getting a more diverse population. And it's now up to 25% in Crystal. What I'm seeing as serving on the committees that I'm serving on and commissions, we are getting some more people involved, but I'd really like to see more inclusiveness and encourage people of all communities to come and get involved. Their input is so important. That's very key to me.
Okay, another issue?
Another issue. Well, we talked about safety. Jeffrey brought that up, and you did as well, Barbara. And we are overall very pleased with the first responders, the police and fire. We have the funniest officer doing our social media, Crystal, the city of Crystal. If you don't follow them on Twitter and Facebook, you're missing out. They're just wonderful. They teach with humor, serious when they need to be. But we're finding that that involvement and outreach has made huge strides with relations with our police department. So I'd like to see more of that too, more encouraging the great work that they've been doing with outreach and education. It just builds stronger neighborhoods.
Oh, definitely. And that community policing is what they're talking about, right?
Correct.
And I think in a sense that's what you're saying,
Yeah,
right?
and to give Barbara and the city of Robbinsdale credit, Crystal Crime Prevention Board, which is doing a fantastic job, we actually, I think we may have stolen your idea with that sign, the We Watch, We Call,
Right,
We Care.
right.
Stolen probably wasn't quite the word, but we borrowed, we did borrow a great idea.
Right,
and
right.
those Crystal Crime and Prevention Board hosts a series of fundraisers. They paid for the making of those signs, and we've
Right.
been handing them out for free.
Right.
And at night to night, they all went out like hotcakes. You see them all over the neighborhood.
Yeah.
But it truly gives potential criminals like, oh, they're
Right.
looking out.
Right.
We may just skip this neighborhood. But it also, again, builds community.
Oh, definitely. And people are looking for that.
Correct.
I know Robbinsdale has the old-fashioned look of a community. A lot of other cities are trying to get to that same point.
Yes, and prosperity is another key issue, is keeping Crystal affordable. And also making it friendly for businesses to come in. One of the things I'm thrilled about was that this recent city council had developed a task force to go through and comb through all of the code through Crystal's code,
right,
which is
right.
over 3,000 pages, I
Right.
understand. They're up to Chapter 4. City Council's meeting tonight to approve their changes, but 14 residents from all across political spectrums all over the city have gone through. They're up to Chapter 11 now, but Chapter 4 is going through, the
Right,
procedure is
right.
correct, make sure everything's legal. But to go through outdated, antiquated code,
right,
or
right.
code that
That's
is
an idea.
not even in jiving with each other,
Right.
they'll say, well, this code is here, but then in another area, it's not, it's
Right.
competing. So I'm very excited about that. So this council, I believe, has done some great strides with modernizing our code, making it easier to understand so that residents and potential businesses, when they want to start a business, can hopefully find an easier way to start in Crystal.
And now we'll let you share your reasons with the people in Crystal and why they should vote for you on
Thank you.
November 8th.
All right. Well, thanks again for your time. And I see there's that red light. Thank you. Again, my name's Nancy LaRoche, 19-year resident, very involved with the city. I'm active and engaged. I've been this way for many years. I love giving back. I would love to have your support. And again, I was encouraged to run by neighbors for this open seat. It is nonpartisan, and I'm proud to say I'm endorsed by neighbors, not by any political party, because I feel that this position should be people-driven, not party-driven. I would be honored to serve you in Crystal as your council member, and feel free to contact me anytime with that information on the screen, nancyforcrystal.com. Thank you.
Well, I want to thank all three of you for running for office, because we're always encouraging people to get involved, and that's probably one of the strongest involvements you can make is
Oh,
decide
yes.
to run for office, but also for sharing your thoughts and your ideas with all of our audience out there, and especially with the people from your city. So we hope that you took the time to write down each of the person's name, email, and phone number, and we really do encourage you to be in contact with them and take time to gather information about your city council races. You can obviously use some of this information from our show, but the Sun Post will have information, the Star and Tribune's going to have information, the League of Women Voters will put on their debates. So there's a lot of places. Take the time so that you can be an intelligent voter on November 8th. Thank you for being with us. Bye.